started my broadcasting career in the Philippines with the Philippine Basketball Association, but I felt really bad because growing up I was watching this guy. But then when I got to work in the PBA, he was not there anymore, and it is my pleasure and honor to be interviewing him today on Kababayan LA, Ricky Brown, and he is just telling us all about the controversies with the Philippine national team. And right about before we paused for a break, he was talking about negotiating with Crispa, one of the most loved teams in the PBA in Philippine basketball history. And then what happened?
Well, I was really excited about the prospects of going to first the PBA and then to play with
Crispa. Yes.
Crispa. That was like a dream for me. And at the last couple of days before they were going to have this selection, they didn't have a PBA draft then. They had some kind of unofficial selection of players coming to the PBA. I get a call from Gintong Alay and Mr. Michael Keon. And I was told by the PBA office that he's the head of the amateur basketball now, so you need to go see him. And I went to see him not really knowing what to expect, maybe, hopefully, just to sign a release form or something like that. And his information to me was, we're not going to release you. And this is just a couple of days before things were going to be finalized.
Wow.
And in our conversation, he said, you have to play for the national team first.
But there was no national team at that time.
Well, they were forming one.
Okay, they wanted you to wait.
They wanted me to wait. They wanted me to play.
Oh, okay.
And that would be that was going to be very difficult for me.
So you were caught in the middle of this struggle between amateur and pro, which is also, it happens all the time.
Yeah, I really felt like a pawn here, that I was in the middle between these two political pieces of Philippine basketball.
Were you angry, frustrated, sad? What were you feeling at that time?
I was a little bit upset at the time because this was all a done deal for me to go to Crispa.
Yes.
And then at the last second, I get word from the BAP head that you're going to have to play with Gintong Alay.
Okay, so major roadblock. And then? Big
roadblock. Well, through further conversation, we left it at, it was going to be difficult for me to do that, you know, without Ron Jacobs, the coach, and Mr. Kawanko, because my blessing from Mr. Kawanko was to go to the PBA,
exactly,
not to go to Gintong Alay.
Right.
And I was not going to do that.
Yes.
And maybe that to some people will sound negative, but my loyalty was to Mr. Kawanko to play for the RP team. And I gave him my word that this is about the PBA. So to go back to another amateur team, it was not going to happen.
Right.
So the next day, Mr. Keon calls for me to come back, and he said, I have some good news for you. He said that you won't have to play for the national team because you're already a professional. And I said, well, you know, what does that mean? And I was kind of happy to hear where he's going. And he said, you signed a contract with the Houston Rockets out of Pepperdine. And I said, yeah, that's correct.
Right.
And he said, that makes you a professional.
Professional, okay.
So it was a little bit of a loophole to allow me to leave Gintong Alay.
So basically, Michael Keon gave you a roadblock, but then at the same time, he took that
roadblock.
It for me, yes. Also, okay.
Yeah. And that was fine. And
so the bad guy became the good guy.
He became a real good guy. He became a real good guy. And so I was released, and I had already gone through my naturalization process. Back in those days, you had to renounce your American citizenship. There was no dual citizenship.
That must have been difficult for you as well, Ricky, to renounce American citizenship. Everybody wants to be an American citizen. Most Filipinos come here, they want to be an American citizen.
Well, I remember calling my mother before I was going to do this, and my mother's a Filipina, and I told her that I'm going to have to renounce my American citizenship to gain Filipino. To become a Filipino.
What did she say?
Well, she was very worried. She was very scared of that. She didn't quite understand what that meant. But that was where my heart was. I was determined to stay, and I was willing to do that. And at the time, I really didn't see it as a risk. It's something that I really wanted to do. So I did that, and I thought everything is smooth sailing now. I'm going to be wearing the green uniform. In fact, Mr. Floro gave me a bunch of Crispa T-shirts, and I was wearing them around Manila.
Right.
So proud. And then I get a phone call.
Okay. This is like a teleserie. Okay. And then?
I get a phone call from the PBA about 2 nights before this is supposed to be official.
Meaning you were going to sign contracts. That was going to make it official.
I had already verbally agreed to a contract with Crispa. It was just a matter of becoming official, first of all, to go to Crispa in the PBA selection. And then just to finalize it.
Okay, and then?
And I got a call from the PBA, and they said that you know, you might not be able to play for CRISPR. And I said, oh my goodness.
Why? Another saga. We're going to be talking about that when we return on the show. Don't go away.